Thank you for doing this. And the record is out tomorrow. Well, it's out today, actually, here, because it's already Friday.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yay!
it's pretty cool to be talking to you on the day of the release.
Oh,
And the record's called Heartstown. And how are you feeling about releasing a record with the environment that everybody seems to be in these days? That's my first question, I guess. It's just such a wild time.
it is a wild time, but we were just literally saying that, things have slowed down where people have the time to pay attention to music. So, unfortunately, we have to be in this pandemic, and many have lost their lives to COVID-19 and jobs and things like that. We feel like releasing music that will give people hope at this time is a great time to have music out.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I know for myself, I'm listening to a lot more new music than I used to, so it's fantastic in that respect. But yeah, the circumstances are a little strange. Uh, what do you think, Michael?
Yeah, the circumstances are strange with COVID, and then here in America, in particularly, we have once again just some unfortunate situations that have occurred with people that look like me,
Right.
and um, I feel that we always need some hope. We always need some relief, some joy, and so in that retrospect, I feel as if this is a wonderful opportunity to put out goodness and to really help us all to remember that we still, no matter how painful it feels, we still have to forge forward and try to unify.
So the songs that comprise the record, when were they composed? Were you thinking about those things when you were making the record, or was it earlier?
Yeah, the thing about this album is a direct response to Healing Tide, which is our debut record.
Right.
It's not just any kind of response. It's the response to people who believe that this album and our live show was more of a political banter or a rant from a soapbox that we were standing on, saying that we have attained this unity, we've attained this peace, we've attained this kind of coming together, and that's not necessarily true. And Hartstown is where we're saying, but this is where we live.
Yeah.
We live in we live in peace. We live in this unity, and we fight for these things on a day-to-day basis. So Hartstown is just a revelation of those other kinds of moments where it wasn't so peachy, it wasn't so unified, it wasn't always a thing to where we were always content with who we are. So that's really the gist of Hartstown, and letting people know that we're right there with you, but we are the voices that shout above the screams of injustice. We are the voices that say, but we have hope. We
Mhm.
still have hope. We still believe in our Hartstown, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it tough to be hopeful with with things happening around you the way they are?
Well, it would be tough if I wasn't married to hope, my wife.
There you go.
And I say that in all seriousness.
Yeah.
I think that it's a beautiful thing. I think the most beautiful creation ever is a woman, and the most beautiful creation to me in my life is my woman,
Hmm.
and she keeps this household, she keeps this family, she keeps me grounded and hopeful. So it's easy for me on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I would have to agree with him that we are each other's hope. I mean, one thing I love about my husband is that he's just full of life all of the time. There's always life, music, creativity flowing out of him. And not just creativity with music, but ways for our family to engage, whether it's watching a movie together or eating ice cream together or whatever the case may be.
Right.
There's always an opportunity for us to connect on a deeper level. And that's what he's really brought into my life because I didn't necessarily grow up with that, with my family, time around the TV and spending time together and telling stories and things like that, family stories. But, Michael, I would have to say that to any woman, the best thing that she could have is a good man,
There you go.
one who can, lift her up when she's down and comfort her and bring hope and give her hope too. So to have one another going through this time that we're all going through is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think the relationship that you two have comes across in the songs that, Michael, you're writing. And I was interested in how, because you're writing kind of for two people when you write your songs, because the two of you sing them. So do you talk much about what is your writing process like? Are you off on your own? Is it more collaborative, and do you bounce ideas off each other?
Well, let me say, this interview is going to be filled with all kind of nacho cheese. Let's put it like that.
That's all right. You can't have too much cheese.
But I can only come from a real honest place. And if people knew my story, they would understand what I'm about to say. I have learned probably 3 years ago that I'm not writing for two people. I'm literally writing for one body. She is the difference. Everything that I have Tanya doing are things that I wish I could, and vice versa. And we're so unique, and we're so compatible, and we're so together that we complete each other's sentences, we complete each other's thoughts, and it works the same way. When we sing and writing the song, I'm often writing our story.
Right.
Our story, not Tanya's story alone, not Michael's alone. I am often writing our story. And I tell you what, I've learned to do that. I've learned to listen to that voice only, because that voice only gives a perfect picture as to who we are. Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I read that Tanya early on got infected by the coronavirus. Is that right?
Yes, I did. I had it all of March, and really, I guess I would say early July, started to get all of my senses back. My taste buds and eyesight and sense of smell and all those things. So yes, I did.
And I mean, it must have been traumatic at the very least for the two of you together, but I assume the fact that the two of you kind of worked through that together made it a bit easier. So hopefully you're feeling better now.
Yes, I'm feeling better now, and it was, a very scary time. I know that our son, he was very afraid,
Sure.
just seeing it in his eyes. And Michael would just lay up under me. He didn't get sick. Legend, our son, he didn't get sick either. But just laying there and not being able to move for a couple of days, it really just sets everything straight as to what life is really about, and it puts it in perspective.
Right. So we'll talk a bit about the record specifically, if you don't mind, because people are going to want to know all about it, and it's almost out. Michael, you produced it yourself after the previous one was produced by Buddy Miller, and so I'm kind of curious as to what if anything, that you picked up from working with Buddy that helped you put this record together.
Yeah. Well, everything. And I say that with great humility and honor and respect to him. I'm only producing because of two people. My wife, who believed in me first and threatened me. She said, if you don't produce this time, I'm not going to sing.
Right. Well, that's some motivation right there.
A lot of motivation, because record label ain't going to have that. They don't
Right.
want just my little ugly mug on a vinyl. And then Buddy Miller, out of respect, I went to him and said, Buddy, I think I want to try my hand at producing. And he said, and I think you should. I believe in you. I believe you can do it. You don't need to get permission from anybody, Michael. You need to listen to yourself and do it. And I was very fortunate to learn a lot of things from Buddy. One of the things I learned from him is being patient and letting it come to you versus you chasing after it. You know, being patient and staying on one note until the next note comes naturally. Right. You know, that's a skill. Buddy has this unique way of allowing everybody to be who they are and making it all thread together. Collaboration, that's what the key is. When you collaborate with someone, it's not that you're trying to conform them or convert them to doing it your way. It's you're giving up just your way and they're giving up their way, and you're coming together and just creating this thing. And Buddy is a skill for that. So that's one of the things I took from him is, you know, just allowing people to be who they are and listening to myself.
And he also records with his wife. So you guys have that in common. Did that work in your favor?
Oh, yeah, because his wife, Julie, is an angel. And she is such a prolific writer. I think that her songwriting skills often go underappreciated. And she's a force, you know.
Yeah.
She's extremely unique, extremely beautiful, and just it's so much fun to be around when she allows you in her space, because she is the queen.
Fantastic. That's excellent.
I think Buddy was able to understand the natural give and go between Tanya and I.
Right.
Especially being husband and wife.
Yeah. Now, speaking of production, I just wanted to touch on a couple of tracks. The first one being 5 More Minutes, which to me, once I heard the organ and the horns in there, that sent me to Memphis and that stack sound. Is that kind of what you were looking for on that one?
It's very interesting because the only reference point I had as to trying to make sure that it was authentic enough was the great and powerful Al Green.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go and you listen to some of those famous recordings, boom, 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 let's stay together. Boom, boom. I wanted a prolific horn line at the top, and I just kept hearing this boom, 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 and it just signifies to everyone that, hey, we're going somewhere with this. We're going to the fair, baby. Let's go and be free. We're going to have fun. And it's a horn, and you know, and that is the thing. Horns are meant to interrupt. So you know, it was very important to have those lines up there. And the horn players, if you don't mind me saying, are Joe Jordan from Knoxville, Tennessee, as well as Chuck Mulligan, both from Knoxville, Tennessee, and they call themselves the Knoxville Horns.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, speaking of other people that are playing on the record, is Jason Isbell and Jerry Douglas on there as well?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. We had the joy and honor of working with Jason on a track. The second track of the album is called Beautiful.
Right.
And Jason, we were very insistent on not giving him any direction. And he was insistent on getting direction. It's like, what do you mean?
Oh, great.
We were
like a little tension in the studio, huh?
Well, he wanted to make sure that we knew what we were asking.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of people, I think they tend to forget, you know, when you have an artist like Jason Isbell or well, not so much Brandy, because you see a lot of this from Brandy. Brandy becomes unleashed a lot. Brandy Carlisle.
Right.
But John Prine, a lot of people, the late great John Prine, a lot of people don't understand that these guys are rockers, honestly. You know, John Prine could shred you under the table. Like Jason, you know, don't be fooled by Elephant Song or We Were Vampires and And on his latest effort, Dreamsicle or St. Peter's Autograph, he's being kind when he gives you be
Right.
afraid, be very afraid. He's being kind when he's giving you I'm a White Man's World or some of the more ruckus tracks of his. But Jason, um, I don't think we were prepared for what we were asking him, and he shredded all over the track, and uh, so much so that the engineer, which is the amazing Garrett Petroza, had to pull some of that back. Jason was really singing through it, and then we had who we like to call our best friend in the industry, Jerry Douglas,
Right.
come in there, and same thing. When you work with guys like Jerry Douglas, Jason Isbell, as well as Chris Critter Eldridge from the Punch Brothers, when you work with gentlemen like that, you don't give them direction. You get out of their way.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And what
Absolutely.
I learned is a major part in producing. What I've come to learn on my own. No one told me this. I think what I've come to learn is a good producer is one who knows how to get in the way and get out of the way when necessary.
Very good. Now, another track I was hoping to discuss was one that Tanya kind of highlights, which is "Hey Pretty Moon,"
Ah,
and maybe you can tell me. It's kind of a slow burner, but it definitely burns once it gets going. So when you're in the studio and you're cutting a track like that, what's happening within you?
It's interesting because we performed that song for almost a year and a half out on the road. So the live experience is what we brought to the studio. Being able to, because that's a song where if you just go in there and you've never sang it before, you've never had an experience with the song, in order for you to interpret that song the way it needs to be interpreted, you have to be able to at least receive some kind of response from an audience. So as we were singing the song and as I was connecting with the song in the studio, just translated what would happen naturally when we sang it live. And I thought about, Michael, and as I said, him getting up every morning and this overwhelming sense of urgency that he has with music, and, him having PTSD, combat PTSD, and still being able to shine and, and hang in there. Hey Pretty Moon, it just made so much sense because when I look at him, I'm just like, how can you do this? It looks like you hang free from all cares. So when you take all of that and you put it into your thought process and you are about to interpret the song on a microphone, it's just impossible for you not to deliver it in a way that is going to impact.
Right, right. Now our time is almost up, but I guess the next question would be, what's happening now that the record is just about out? Are you able to get out and mingle with people who have heard it? Are you able to perform? How are you feeling about all this?
I feel great. I will say this much: throughout the pandemic and the quarantine, I feel slightly more connected to
Yeah.
people. I feel like we've used electronics for the purposes they were truly originally meant. You know, we've been in front of our phones for the right reasons, eager to
Right.
connect, eager to do what we're doing right now,
Exactly.
looking faces in each other's eyes. And that has upped our game, stepped our game up to connect deeper with our fans and with the media, such as yourself. So we're going to continue to be creative in how we do the connecting. We're going to continue to be creative in how we reach out. And we're slowly but surely seeing certain shows return with its restrictions and its limitations. But I'm reminded of a scripture in the good book where it says, where two or three are gathered, there shall I be in the midst. And so, my thing to everyone listening is be careful, but be helpful. to one another and be loving to one another. And please pay attention to the lyrics of this record, Heartstown. We are definitely telling a story. We're proud of this piece of work. And to every person that will support the War and Treaty in this effort, thank you. And to you as well for this beautiful, beautiful interview. And we felt at peace and we felt connected with you all the way from here in the States to where you are. And we look forward to shaking your hand and tossing up a cold one with you face to face.
Yeah, well, that would be fantastic because I've seen some live tracks and some clips, and it's like, it's one thing to listen to the record, but I can't imagine what it must be like to be in the same room when you're making that sound. So hopefully at some point you can come down to New Zealand and treat us to it. But in the meantime, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate the interview.